Gang, what's up? It was a fun day in the House of Commons. Pierre returns, mops the floor with Prime Minister Mark Carney. He's in way over his head. The second English question Pierre asked threw Carney in a frenzy. He lost his words. Oh my goodness, it was just so funny. What we're going to watch now is trashy, sassy Vassy Capellos try to twist that around. She's going to be chatting with MP Andrew Scheer, who is the funniest guy on Parliament Hill. Indeed, there's nobody as funny as Andrew Scheer up there. I wonder how Andrew's going to handle her incompetent, it's just unprofessional. Her journalism is so lopsided. I know that she works for the wrong side. Whatever. Let's see how Andrew handles this. Should be fun. Let's go trashy, Vassy, sassy, whatever. Capellos. Let's bring it on.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
All right, so we're ready to go. We've got Vassy here. Andrew looks like he's in
Let's get some more perspective now from the House Leader for the Federal Conservatives, Andrew Scheer. Hi, Mr. Scheer. It's good to see you again.
It's been a while. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much for making the time for the conversation. I wanted to start off today on the pitch your counterpart in the government is making, and I'll quote Steve McKinnon here. He asked MPs and Conservative MPs and voters to, quote, work together to, quote again, help make this country better. Do you see, from the suite of policies and pitches that they're making so far, something you can identify for Canadians tonight you would work with them on?
Mm-hmm. Well, we're hopeful that they're serious. We saw in the last Parliament the Liberals didn't operate this way. They were happy to have the House of Commons stalled rather than hand over documents relating to one of their scandals. So maybe this is a legitimate new chapter in that. But look, it's quite clear that Liberals had to steal Conservative ideas to get elected. They had to basically concede that Conservatives were right about the carbon tax, about easy bail causing crime waves, and about many other Conservative policies. So that's why we supported things like our idea to remove the GST off of housing. That's why we will support policies that they lift from our platform. Of course, we would support that. What we are on the alert for is when they graft their own tired policies that have been proven not to work onto those pieces of legislation, then it is our job to highlight that for Canadians and to give it all the due diligence that Canadians expect when they elect a minority parliament like this.
So in principle, does that mean, and obviously you'd have to see the specific legislation, I'm sure there will be issues in going back and forth, but in principle, does that mean on things like housing, on things like cost of living, if there are additional tax cuts, particularly on opening up relationships with other parts of the world, like that is stuff in principle that the Conservatives will support? And I ask, I understand the stuff that goes on here, and you have one take and the Liberals have another about why there was that stasis. But I think Canadians at home ultimately are impacted by that, and no advancement of legislation or things that will impact their life. So on behalf of them, in principle, it's not like you're ruling out keeping them in power for a bit longer if there are pieces of legislation?
Well, I wouldn't describe it as keeping them in power. I think I would describe it as supporting ideas that we've already committed to. You touched on a couple of files there. So on tax relief, of course, we were the ones for a decade calling for an elimination of the carbon tax. That is absolutely something that Conservatives were fighting for, and we supported that. Removing the GST off of new home construction was a Conservative idea. Liberals voted against that when Pierre Poilievre proposed it. We supported that, and we'll support other things that lower the tax burden. Now, when it comes to building bureaucracies, which is what the Liberal plan is morphing into, they announced $13 billion to build a bureaucratic structure rather than getting out of the way of new home construction. Well, those are things that we can't support. We don't believe that Canadians, unlike the Liberals, we believe that Canadians pay enough in taxes. We believe the government spends far more than it should. The deficit numbers are already eye-watering, and we're hearing rumors that they could be even bigger than Justin Trudeau's last deficit. So on a case-by-case basis, when they bring in ideas that we've either campaigned on or committed or supported in the past, of course we'll continue to support that, but we will call out and highlight for Canadians the bad Liberal policies that are going to increase costs, drive up inflation, or put pressure on taxes going up.
It's like he's talking to a child and trying to explain something. And Vassy isn't a dumb person. She's just a sellout. He knows that she understands these things. Look at him grinning. He's having a good day. It was a big win today for the Conservatives in the House of Commons. It was. It's funny, man.
As well.
I want to ask you about that and in general the budget, because it's more than even a signal. The Prime Minister essentially confirmed over the weekend that the size of the deficit would increase. Why are you inherently, and I understand a conservative principle that you wouldn't want the size of the deficit to increase, but given the economic pressures we face, the impact that has on revenue because the economy is contracting, why are you reflexively against a deficit that grows? Like, doesn't it add up?
Well, first of all, I think we should go back and understand what the Conservatives are generally going to do this session. That
Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. That's pretty much the game with Vassy.
is hold Mark Carney to his own standard. So he wrote his campaign platform knowing that Trump's tariffs were in effect. He budgeted that out, and he committed in his platform a much lower deficit number than what they're now talking about. He committed to capping spending growth, even in the throne speech, which took place months after Trump became president and a full month after the election campaign. So I believe it's fair to hold Mark Carney to the promises on which he got elected. He went to the Canadian people, made a written promise to them, put it in writing in his platform, and I believe it's absolutely fair to hold him to that. Secondly, when the government has to borrow more money, when it's borrowing billions of money, that means it's gobbling up money out of the economy. They are now competing with everyone else who has to borrow money. They're going to compete with you when you renew your mortgage or when you get a mortgage, when you negotiate a line of credit, when businesses go out and try to borrow to invest in the economy. Now they have to compete with the government. So that puts massive pressure on interest rates. It also means taxes at some point, either through the hidden inflationary tax, which we already see inflation going up, or with outright tax hikes, which Liberals have also done in the past. So it's not just that we have this allergic reaction to deficits. There's deep economic principles that Conservatives fight for when we oppose massive increases in deficits.
And I understand that. And I think back to the last time a Conservative Prime Minister increased the size of the deficit substantially. It was in a time of economic crisis, right? It was then Prime Minister Stephen Harper who essentially made that decision in order to combat stagnation in the economy, contraction of the economy, rising unemployment rates, all of the things that we see now. I take your point about them saying specific things in the election platform. It's why I have been asking them those same questions over the past number of months. But now we have some real numbers showing us the impact of what Trump's tariffs are doing. A contraction of 1.6% in the second quarter of the economy, 10% loss of business investment. Like, those are things that will for sure impact the bottom line of the government. Are they, as a result, supposed to just slash and cut? Because I don't know if Canadians have an appetite for that.
How about not invent new spending? The $13 billion in a new housing bureaucracy rather than just getting the government out of the way of new home construction. Massive increase in consultants. How about the fact that we're talking about business contraction in the economy, the billions of dollars that they've chased away with their anti-energy development laws. So
well, those are going away.
No.
It seems like they're getting rid of half of those. Yeah.
They've refused to repeal the No More Pipelines bill. They've refused to repeal the shipping ban, which basically means only Canadian energy cannot be shipped off our western coast. Other countries' energy can go up and down the coast. Only Canadians can. They've refused to repeal the impact assessment regime that they built, which was designed to get to a no. They vetoed Northern Gateway. They layered on all kinds of rules and regulations on the energy sector. And as a result, tens of billions of dollars have fled into other countries. The United States has signed over deals worth over $750 billion on LNG alone.
But
that's something that Canada could have done, and then we wouldn't be talking about a massive contraction. So between the spending that's being increased,
we would still be talking about contraction given our dependence on the states.
We would have been able to diversify. Northern Gateway would have helped us diversify off of the American economy. Trudeau canceled that. Carney cheered for that. He cheered on and applauded Justin Trudeau for doing that. So Canada, after 10 years of Liberal government, is more dependent on the United States for our exports.
It's actually the same. It's 75% of our exports then, 75% of our exports now.
But when you consider what it could have been, I mean, Northern Gateway was a real opportunity to get Canadian energy into Asian markets.
But it lost in the courts.
No. Justin Trudeau vetoed that.
No, it lost in the courts decided, and then Trudeau decided not to fight it. He didn't appeal the decision from the court.
Well, you say tomato, I say tomato. Justin Trudeau had the ability to see that pipeline through. He did not want it. I remember his speech when he explained the reason why he did not want Northern Gateway to proceed, despite the fact that there were multiple partnerships agreements signed by First Nations communities along the way, despite the fact it would have opened up Asian markets. He also stacked the deck against Energy East, which would have taken Western Canadian energy into Eastern Canadian markets, displacing foreign oil. So every way you look at it, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, the policies that Mark Carney has kept in place, was designed to leave our energy in the ground. That is something that has made Canada's economy weaker and meant that the government has less fiscal capacity to respond to the United States.
My sense is, though, that what Carney has said and even started to do is conceding what you just said, basically. That I don't see him doing anything but trying to delineate his government. I'll tell you why, because he's saying that the Conservatives were right, is my takeaway, because he's saying we're going to get rid of the emissions cap, for example.
Has he said
C5.
That?
Well,
has he made the commitment that he's going to get rid of the
Well, he said to me he was open to it.
Okay.
Point blank, a number of months ago.
This is the problem with liberals,
Let me finish. C5 is also meant to, on a case-by-case basis, move around those pieces of legislation. So if new LNG development or a new pipeline requires that, the impact assessment not be used or the tanker ban not be in place, C5 is supposed to override that, give the cabinet the ability to override that. If they got rid of everything, we'd have no climate plan.
No, that's not true at all. I disagree. First of all, Mark Carney is proving up to be just another Liberal. One day, maybe he might be open to it. He's been Prime Minister now for 6 months. He promised to move at unimaginable speeds, and nothing really has gotten done. His major project list is 5 projects that were all either already approved or in some cases already underway. I mean,
not LNG Canada. The investor hasn't even made a decision on that yet.
What he's done with C5 is he's given himself the power to use what's called selective enforcement. That means instead of the market deciding, instead of investors deciding, yes, this project, yes, that project, no, that project, or the market deciding, Mark Carney is going to decide when the rules apply and when they don't apply. It's very dangerous. We want to live in a country where the market decides things. He wants to live in a country where he gets to decide things. And the difference there
Doesn't government have to send a message?
No.
That we're
it's not
open
about,
for business.
No, but you send that message by setting up the goalposts and fixing them in one spot. And what we saw with this Liberal government over 10 years, that the goalposts kept moving and back and forth and side to side. What Mark Carney is telling some businesses, some selective companies, that, hey, you don't even have to try to kick the ball at all. And the difference in that is, instead of pleasing the market, now companies are going to have to please politicians. Instead of letting the market decide, politicians are going to decide. That is dangerous. Every country that's ever tried has gone down that road, where politicians get to decide when the rules apply and when they don't. Leads to corruption, leads to lack of investor confidence, and it leads to companies moving out of those countries.
Even in a time of crisis, though, and I do take that point, but I know that your party has constantly cited this LNG terminal on the water in Germany as evidence of how fast things can get built. Germany essentially brought in their own C5 to override their own environmental laws in order to get that thing built, and it worked.
But why just for one company? Why not have an accelerated approvals process based on fixed criteria for everyone?
Okay, I'll leave it on that note. We'll let Canadians decide. Thanks a lot, Mr. Scheer. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
It's pretty funny. Oh yeah. And what do you think? It was a fun day. Andrew Scheer obviously was in a good mood. The only time he looked a little sour was towards the end. She was trying to get in the last word. You can zip it back and check that out. She was definitely trying to do that. She does editorials to the politicians. She's supposed to be a journalist. It's a joke. And I don't mean to go so hard at Vassy, and I know that I've gone hard at Rosemary Barton, but what are you doing? You don't need to keep those jobs. Go out there, just do your own thing. You've got the contacts. I mean, you're an established person. You could do this so easily. People say, oh, they're so wealthy. Go work hard, do your own thing. Be honest, and use the skills that you do have that you use for almost pure evil. What a weird thing. Anyways, what a fun day today was. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. My name's Aaron, Canadian Looney. We've got a great chat room, during the question periods. If you're somebody that is wanting change in our country, for the positive, to improve things, because there is change in our country, but it's going the wrong way. Anyhow, the chat room that we've got going on is a really well-informed, open-minded, funny, but frustrated group. It's awesome. my favorite part of question period is hanging out in my chat room, or on the chat room for this channel. Anyways, gang, smash the subscribe, hit the like, share this with somebody. Aaron, Canadian Looney. I know I'm too animated. Today was the first day that I've had fun making videos in a long time. It was a lot of fun though. Anyhow, gang, we'll catch you tomorrow. Hopefully you come and join us for question period. If not, check out one of the other videos. There'll be something floating around here. And I do shorts too. I try to keep those real funny. That's it. Catch you next video. Thanks for watching, gang.